All right, folks, welcome to yet another session of Informatica Cloud Tech Tuesdays. Today we have a really exciting topic to talk to you about, and it's about Cloud Extend. Now, for those of you that have been long-term Informatica Cloud customers, we acquired a company called Active Endpoints back in February that brought some really great technology over to Informatica Cloud. We have today with us Michael Rowley, the Chief Technology Officer behind the Active Endpoints technology, with us today to show you some really exciting topics around Cloud Extend. Today we're actually going to talk about how we can use tables within Cloud Extend to manipulate Salesforce data. So for those of you that have large Salesforce deployments, you'll find this topic especially useful. So as far as what we're going to go over today in the agenda, we're going to quickly remind folks what exactly Cloud Extend does and what the value proposition is, and then we're going to jump right into the demo with Michael Rowley, who's going to show how to present records and tables using Cloud Extend. Then we'll have a summary of our learnings, a Q&A session, as well as what's going to go on for next Tech Tuesday session. So, quick reminder as to what Cloud Extend does. So for those of you that live your lives within Salesforce and you run several processes within it, what you'll often find that data entry is extremely time-consuming and error-prone. And if you look at any particular object, be it leads or opportunities, several different fields to fill out. And when you're trying to combine them with other objects within Salesforce in order to have a seamless process flow, there's a lot of redundant and repetitive tasks. And as a result of this, it really lowers user adoption, and it requires developers to do a lot of custom coding, which at the end of the day slows down your entire ROI of Salesforce. The easy way is what Cloud Extend brings. So with Cloud Extend, you can eliminate a lot of these hand coding requirements because what Cloud Extend does is it automates a lot of these processes by guiding you through a step-by-step process. And in the process of doing so, you can actually speed up a lot of your data entry and you can reduce errors. And there's a lot of questions that get asked, a lot of automated work that result in some of the process automation steps outlined. And the best thing of all is you can actually do this on any device. You can do it on your laptop, you can do it on your mobile device, you can do it on your tablet. So with that, without any further ado, I'm going to pass the ball off to Michael Rowley, who's going to demonstrate the power of Cloud Extend.
So I'm going to be running through a number of demos on the capabilities of tables. When I talk about tables, I'm not talking. You shouldn't be envisioning tables in the database. You should be envisioning rows and columns on your screen. And the easiest, what people have often seen is something around like a demo of Cloud Extend. Anybody who's seen Cloud Extend has seen a demo that usually starts something like this, select which of the following opportunities you talked about in the meeting you just had. So this is an example of presenting data in a table, selecting one of them, and going on with a guide that acts on that. But there's a lot more that you can do. And let me start by showing in the designer how you create these tables and a number of the capabilities available in them. And I'll be distinguishing a bit between dynamic tables and static tables. What you just saw there was a dynamic table, which is a table where it's presenting the results set of some sort of query of Salesforce. So I'm going to create a new guide for reviewing opportunities. And this really, the things I'm going to be showing here are applicable no matter what you're working on. Any kind of records and related records are useful. I'm going to put this into a category called tables. And so what I want to do is I want to show all of the opportunities associated with an account and show them in a table. So I created this on an account, And not only do I want to show it in a table, I want to act on each one. So the best way to do this is for the acting on each record in the table is going to be done by an embedded guide. Now, in this latest version of Cloud Extend, we've got the ability to create the embedded guide right from the guide that needs it. So I'm in a place where I need to iterate over a set of records, and in fact, I'm going to iterate over a set of opportunities. And each opportunity is going to review each pass through the table. Each row is going to be reviewing the opportunity. So I'm going to create a guide. So this is a new embedded guide that is review opportunity. I put a little X in front. It makes it easy for me to find things that are embedded, just as a convention. So this is something that runs on an opportunity, and I'll put it in that same category. It makes it easy to find. And that's pretty much all I need to say right now. So now I know there's going to be some embedded guide that's going to show me things about each opportunity. And I want to do this on a list. And the list I would like to get from the screen. So I go to my screen. I click on Applies To. I don't really need to say Applies To. That is where we're going to be collecting this list of opportunities. And the place we're going to get the list from can be a couple possibilities. It can be an object query, a custom list, or a list of child objects. The easiest of these is the list of child objects. So let me show that first. I'll just say, okay, I'm running on an account, so it has opportunities, and I can show them. And I want to show each one. What do I want to show from each one? I want to show the name. I want to show the amount and maybe the close date. It seems common things. And maybe I'll show 10 rows. So if I preview this, I see it's going to look something like that. That looks about right. I'm going to be check marks next to all the ones I'm going to be reviewing. So that's now created both the embedded guide and the guide that is calling it. And then when I'm done, I'll just say done. So let's see. Select an action. I want to end the guide. Within the with this step, this one that I previewed and I showed a table that looks like this, this is one of these dynamic tables that is going to show a row for each result from Salesforce, for each opportunity found in Salesforce. Now, if I go into the guide that was just created, this is running on a single opportunity, and I can do something like, say, check key fields of the opportunity. And here I like to use a different kind of table, one which is static. It is basically only the information on it is the things I put there. So in our editor, we've got the ability to drop in a table, choose how many rows and columns, how much padding and other such things, and then start putting stuff into it. So I'm going to put fields of the opportunity right into this. Amount, some of those same things we saw on the other screen, maybe also add a next step. And just for good measure, I'm going to put a picture in here, just because I like to. So drop the picture in. And then the embedded guide is done. So what I've just done is reviewing. I've created this parent guide that looks for opportunities, and I've created the child guide that acts on each opportunity. So I'll publish that. This runs on accounts. So that means I should go to an account. I'll go to maybe my global media account. And I have this reviewing opportunities. Oh, I called it reviewing instead of review. And I see all of the opportunities. I asked it to show 10 records, so it showed the first 10, and I can go on to the next one. I've got the ability to sort based on any of these columns, and then I can choose a couple to work on. And what this does is it goes in to that embedded guide that I created, and it shows each opportunity, and I can potentially, move in the close date or change it to something else, and that will modify that opportunity, go through each one, make sure it's right, and then I'm done. So that's the basics of dealing with tables. So now let's get into some more interesting stuff. Let me flip back to my this. I'm going to show now some other things you can do, like filtering and sorting and searching for records based on SOQL. Salesforce Object Query Language is SOQL. So going back, I'm going to keep that sub-guide, but I'm going to delete what I call it with. And instead, I'd like in this situation to find all the opportunities that are above some amount. So I'll first have a field for keeping track of the opportunities. And I can do that because we've got a type called object list that can keep track of any sort of result set or a set of objects. And it's also useful to have an amount field representing the amount of money we're going to search for. So, and it's got to be at least $0, started off at 0. Now when I create a new step, this is a new way of kind of dropping a table on. Here, I'm dropping the table on by dropping the field that was going to hold the result set. So I had created this field for opportunities. Again, I'll say select opportunities to review. And now, when I go into it, I have to choose what result set I'm going to get, but instead of using list child objects, I'll say object query. And I'm going to make it so that it's got to be, the amount has to be greater than this amount field that I created. That's all well and good, but and I'll give it. I'm going to give it a smaller number of rows this time because I am going to do some other things as well. For one thing, I just said it has to be greater than the amount, but where does the amount come from? If you put a field that is used in a query on the same screen, it will affect the query in a dynamic way. So I can put this amount field that I just created, the temporary amount field, on the screen and say the amount has to be greater than, just for the user's sake, this. So let me preview that. Oh, that's not quite right because I didn't put any fields to show. Name, amount, close date. I'm going to put in the owner because I'm going to be using that later as well. One of the things you should know about these labels is the label gets defaulted to something, but you can always change it. So like in the owner, I'll just change it to be an owner column. Now I'll preview it. That looks better. All right. So I now have created a list that I can act on, but I'm not acting on it here. So all I have to do now is insert a call to that same embedded guide that I created in the last step. And I want to pass in. This time I'm also running on a list, but I'm running on a list that it comes from a field. It's this opportunities field or ops field. So that's all that it takes. I want to give it a better name. Review opportunities. Okay, so I select them and then I review them. Save this. You know what? Just so that I can get more opportunities to review, I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to change this from running on an account to running on home. So now I'll be able to go and get any opportunity in the entire system and consider it. So I think I had called this, let me double check this, save, I have to publish. Reviewing opportunities, there we go. So this is getting all of the opportunities in the system. There's at least 100 entries. It actually only gets 100 entries unless you tell it otherwise, and then I can select for things over maybe 100,000. And just changing that and then hitting tab or otherwise changing your view will get all of the opportunities greater than that. So, and then again, I can just, since it's the same work, I can go into each one and work my way through them. So that is how we can get at things that use a SOQL query involving some field. Here, let me get rid of that extra space. Remember, it returned only 100 entries. It did that because by default, it returns only 100 entries unless you say otherwise. So if you can say limit 500, and then I can run it and potentially get more things to work from. And what's important about this is when you're doing this search, see, now it got up to 141 entries. When you do the sorting among the things in your result set, that's only the things that came back. So if you only got back 100 things, you'll only be sorting among those. So that's valuable, and then again, you can change the amount. So now let me switch topics to the next demo, which is combining result sets. You can do things where you take the one result set, you have the user select some of the records, and then you go show another table where all of the entries in that new table have a relationship to all of the entries that were selected in the first. So that's kind of vague, so let me explain better. An example might be showing opportunities for any of the owners that are selected by the users. So let me show you how this can be done. It's actually pretty straightforward. So I'm going to create a new field for owners of opportunities. And as before, that's going to be an object list, but this time it's an object list containing users. Oh, let's do that. So I'll have an object list of users, and before this selecting the opportunities to review, I want to select owners of opportunities. So let me drop a field in for update and have it be owners. Okay. I'm going to say select owners of opportunities you want to review. So as before, I'm going to use an object query to find these people. I don't really need any where conditions. I can get any user in the system. At least that's the way I'm going to deal with it right now. I'm going to put their full name in the table and maybe their role. So I'll go to the role name. I'll just call it role, and I'll call them this name. I'll give it a height of maybe 8. And as I like to always do a quick preview. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so now I've just created a list of users with this. Now I'd like to have my set of opportunities that it's shown to me for the user to select from, for the person using the system, to be only those that are owned by those users that were selected. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a condition. And the condition that I have to add is that the owner has to be one of the one of the users that was selected. So I'll say the owner will be from the field owners. That was that list field that I set up. And now instead of equals, there's this operator called in. So I just do that. It generates something that looks like that. That's a way within SOQL of doing this test. And that looks good to me. So I'll save that, publish it, and then restart this. Now I'm getting a bunch of users, and I can sort by role. There's a few of them that have roles here. I'll get a few of these guys. And here are the opportunities for those guys that I selected. And then any of these I can select and act on. And again, I could have done the thing with the amount greater than. So that is combining result sets. So the next thing I'd like to show you is, mostly when you look at these tables, you notice you don't change the things in the table. But you can do a pattern which allows you to change the things in the table. And let me show you that. Best for me to show the end result first in this case. I'm going to go to a different account. No, that's not an account. There's an account. And look at its list of contacts. Now, normally you'd see a list of contacts in a table like this, and all you can do is select the ones you want to work with, or select one you want to work with. In this example, I'm making it so that you can not just select one. If the one you want isn't there, you can add it, right? So I can say Mae West is a sales rep, and she's got some phone number, mwest@jwo.com, and reports to, here's another list that is a list that's generated from a query. So now I just say add new contact. This adds it as a contact and just shows you the list again, right? So that's for adding, very simple. If I wanted to change something, I wanted to say that actually John Williams doesn't report to John Wayne. He reports to Frank Lamond. So I'll just say Frank Lamond. And John Williams is actually a composer. So I'll update the things that I want to change, and click the update. And now he's a composer that reports to Frank Lalonde. So adding, updating, and then eventually when you have it right and you say, okay, I was actually working with this guy, I select him, and then I go on to the next step in my guide. The guide for doing that looks something like this. You create this, it's sometimes easier to see with the preview. You create it where you're presenting the table with the right fields you want, and then you just have some temporary fields that you put at the bottom of the screen. And then you have the three buttons, select, add, or update. Then in select, you go on to whatever it is you were going to do. For add, you create it, clear your temporary fields so that you don't keep seeing them, and jump back to contacts. And on update, the way I did it is made sure you actually selected one to update. If not, you say, wait, you didn't select one. Then you go and update only those fields that are set. Now, I created a little sub-guide here that is pretty straightforward. It's basically just looks at each of the temporary fields, and if it's set, it updates the contact. So that is selecting and reviewing. Now there's another, let me go to my last demo, which is having two tables for join objects. And the basic scenario is that there are objects that have a many-to-many relationship with each other through what's called a join object. So an example would be an opportunity contact role, which says which contacts are involved in which opportunities. But there's a bunch of places where this pattern is used. And you can put two tables on the screen, where the first table shows unselected records, and the second table shows the selected records for the relationship. So back to the example, for an opportunity, you could show one table, the contacts that don't currently have a join object, an opportunity contact role. And the second one is the ones that do. And then you can have buttons to allow users to select to move between tables, to add or remove from the tables. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to go into an opportunity, Info Quick Start. And there's a guide called Manage Opportunity Contacts. So here are all of the contacts that are on this account that are not involved in this opportunity. And here are all the contacts that are involved in the opportunity. If they are involved, it shows what role they're in. Anybody who's not in the opportunity, like these guys, I can say I would like them to be added as evaluators. And say, now here I can say either OK, apply, or cancel. Apply will essentially do what I just told it to do. It'll move those guys over here as evaluators. Now, if I change my mind and I say, actually, this guy is not, if I check him, I'm checking him to be removed, and I apply that, it means he's no longer an evaluator. He moves back to the available contacts. And maybe I did that because I would like to have a couple other people, and they are maybe influencers, and apply. And on any of these, if I say OK, it doesn't just apply them, it applies them and goes on. So that you'd say, OK, I'm done with that step. I'll go back a step, and you can kind of see that and then the last one is cancel, where if I've selected a few things, and I'd say, wait a second, no, I'm all messed up. Let me just cancel that. The way I've got it now is it just takes you back to this page, clearing all of your check marks. So it's an easy way. It's a pattern that can be used in any of these kind of situations. So let me go and show you what this looks like. This is Manage Opportunity Contacts. So we're going to start off with a parent guide that does nothing but call a child and then decide whether to show it again or not. If it comes back saying show it again, then it'll return, show again, says return back to this, and do it again. So that I wanted my loop on the outside, because that way I wouldn't have to clear all of my lists. All of my lists, I've got two lists. I've got a list of contacts to add, actually three lists, contact roles to delete, and selected contacts. And the new role that is going to be added. I actually believe I didn't end up using selected contacts. We'll see that in a second. So contacts to add and contact roles to delete. When I go into my screen, this is the one that looks like something like this. the way that works is there's some interesting, I'll say, queries for this. So let me show you this one. It's showing all of the contacts that are not involved in this opportunity. And that takes advantage of the fact that you can use embedded select statements in a where clause in SOQL. So this is saying any contact that is for this account, and that contact is not one of the opportunity contact roles. So it's not in the group of things, it's not in the contact IDs that are in the opportunity contact roles for this opportunity. So you can kind of read it and see what it's saying. It's useful sometimes to have an example, and I'll make these things available as examples after this talk. And similarly, going over here, this one is a much simpler one because it's just saying what are the opportunity contact roles, and then it's showing the contact dot name and contact dot title of the ones that were selected. And then this field is for what role will be added if it's added. So now, if they say apply, first if they say okay, it means I'm going to continue, but before continuing, I'm going to apply. So the work goes in these two subguides. And all they do is they just iterate through contacts to add, and for each contact to add, it goes into this little subguide that just does one thing. It adds it. It creates the opportunity contact role with that opportunity, that contact, and that role. So it's really trivial. And then for delete opportunity contact role, it's also any of those check marks that were there get passed in contact roles to delete, and you drill into that, and you similarly just find one that deletes that object. So it's pretty straightforward as a pattern. It could be used as a pattern anywhere you would like to do this. And other examples might be opportunity products would be a good example for this. Here's an opportunity. Here's the products they've currently bought. Here's the products that they haven't yet bought, but they could, and then you select them and you move back and forth. So those are a variety of ways of using tables within Cloud Extend. And at this point, I think I'd like to hand it back over to Ashwin.
All right, folks. So you just basically saw a demo by Michael Rowley of several different features within Cloud Extend, specifically using the tables feature of Cloud Extend in Salesforce. Now, I know there was a lot of material, so if you do have any questions, please use the chat panel, and we'll address them in the Q&A session. So as far as tips for success, as far as getting started with Cloud Extend and using the functionality that Michael just showed you, what you want to do is, first of all, before you even get started, think about all the data that you want from the table. Then use the looping embedded guides for multiple objects. And finally, understand how side-by-side tables can help your end users when you embark upon them. So with that, we're now going into the Q&A session. And Michael, we have plenty of questions. So there's a lot of our Informatica Cloud customers that seem to be seeing this for the first time. The first question is, are there any special configuration instructions for using it on a mobile device or a tablet versus a laptop?
Yeah, there's using it on a mobile device. You have, and I could do a whole TechTuesdays on the mobile form of this. It's the configuration option that you say this is going to be run on a smartphone. We especially designate smartphones because of the small real estate, and we have themes that are appropriate to that small real estate, and we make it easy for you to develop and preview seeing what it'll actually look like on a smartphone. For tablets, the real estate tends to be large enough that you can use the guide with the same kind of theme the same look and feel that you would use it from the desktop. So everything just works as it would from the desktop on a tablet.
Great. The next question, Michael, is one of our attendees wants an explanation about the differences between a dynamic versus static table.
Sure. A static table has the number of rows in it that is determined by, while you're editing the table, you're actually adding rows and you're adding contents to each cell of the table. It's kind of like having a little spreadsheet that you stuck on your screen, and some of the contents you just type in there, and some of them will represent a single field that are going to be there. So it's just a way of laying out your screen. And a dynamic table actually runs a query against Salesforce and returns a row for each result of that query.
Okay, great. The next question here is about the Guide Designer itself. The question is, the Guide Designer seems to be a tab within Salesforce. So how do you install this Cloud Extend Guide Designer?
Sure, you install it by buying Cloud Extend, and you get a managed package, which you install by basically following a URL and clicking through a couple of checkboxes on the way in as part of the installation process. You can get this from AppExchange. Okay,
awesome. And in fact, in our next steps section, I'm actually including a link to that, I believe. So for the person that asked that question, you'll see the link to the AppExchange listing for Cloud Extend. So the next question we have teed up here are about some of the icons themselves within the Guide Designer. So the question is, what do those different flowchart icons stand for?
Sure. One of them is for a screen. They are modeled roughly off of BPMN, but it's, as I say, roughly BPMN allows you to have the icon at the top left. It can be whatever you want it to be, and the color can be whatever you want it to be. And we took advantage of those things. But there are things like diamonds that represent decisions within the process, where which direction it goes depends on the data. There are tan-colored steps that represent calls to services, or what we refer to them as automated steps. There's I think it's kind of a greenish color that represents screens, and kind of a blue that represents calls to embedded guides. The embedded guides are like sub-processes. Those are the basics. Oh, and then the red circle is the end of the guide.
Okay. Thanks for that, Michael. And folks, I'm actually going to include links to documentation within Cloud Extend. So for those of you that want more details around what those different flowchart icons stand for and things like that, the documentation should help. So I'm going to take one last question because we are about 12 minutes over time here. So the question here is about a specific part of the demo you did, Michael, about the reporting chain, where John Wayne reported to someone else, and things like that. So the question is, if you have an org chart within either Outlook or Workday, can you use Cloud Extend to somehow bring that reporting chain into the Cloud Extend guides?
Actually, that's a better example of something that you would do with a combination of Cloud Extend and Informatica Cloud. Bringing data that is in some external system, and you want to bring it all in and have it represented within Salesforce, is what Informatica Cloud does well. And then once it's in there, having a process that makes sure it's right or shows it to people or manipulates it in any way is where Cloud Extend is especially good.
Excellent. Thank you so much for answering those questions, Michael. Just going to get into next steps. So for those of you that had some more of those detailed questions about Cloud Extend, and I know there's a lot of first-time viewers of Cloud Extend on this program, please do go to that URL and read the introductory documentation. It's on the cloudextend.com website. And for those of you that were asking about the App Exchange listing, Cloud Extend is on App Exchange. So if you go on to App Exchange and you just search for Cloud Extend, you should see the listing detail pop up. And we're going to be taking a little bit of a break from Tech Tuesdays for about a month, because we're going to be exhibiting at Amazon reInvent next week in Vegas, and the week after that, we're going to be at Dreamforce. So for those of you that are going to be at Dreamforce and would like to know more about Cloud Extend, we're going to have several experts from the Cloud Extend team, and especially for the person that asked about configuring on mobile devices and tablets, we can show you how to do that too if you visit our booth. And the week after that is going to be Thanksgiving, so we won't have a session then. So basically our next session for Tech Tuesdays is going to be session 15 on December the 3rd. And December is Developers Month, so we're going to have a 3-part series for ISVs and SIs. And the first of those sessions is going to be automating the onboarding of new customers into your app. So if you've just developed a new Force.com app or any other app on any other platform, and you're looking to onboard customers onto that app as soon as possible, this session is for you. So thanks, folks, for joining us on this session of Tech Tuesdays. We will see you once again in about a month on December the 3rd. So have a great Dreamforce for those of you that are going to be there, and we'll see you in about a month. Thank you.